got these radars going on all the time. There's so much information. It's like, is there something in this for me? So people have got that radar up all the time. So if they hear a real person like them talking about their struggles, they're much more likely to be hooked in. Have you ever thought, what have I got to offer as a coach? I'm just a normal person. Don't worry, you're not alone. And in this episode, I'm going to explain to you why you have everything you need right now to become a world-class coach. Let's do this. Hi, my name is Andy Ramage. I'm the founder of the coachbusiness.school. I'll be your coach, your trainer, and guide for this episode. And please do subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and check out the notes below for all the links you need if you want to go to coachbusiness.school. Okay, let's get into it. What do you have to offer as a coach? This is a question that I'm asked all the time. And it's a common limiting belief from many coaches, and not only those that are thinking about coaching, but those that are already accredited as coaches. That sense of, like, who am I? I'm just like this normal person. You know, I'm not perfect. I don't have books and podcasts and all these super duper accolades. I'm just a normal person. And it's a really important question to unpick, and that's exactly what I'm going to do on this episode, because I'm a passionate believer that if you are perfectly imperfect, which we all are as humans, then you're perfect for coaching. Here's why. Firstly, the myth of the expert coach. Let's unpick that. The temptation is to fall into a trap of assuming, because when you look around in the coaching space, some of those that are more vocal clearly are those that have been at coaching for maybe a longer period of time, and over that time they've built up some of those classic accolades, from books to podcasts to TV appearances, press, whatever it might be. And there's an assumption that they only got to where they are because of those accolades. It's like the iceberg effect in many ways of success. We tend to see the tip of the iceberg some 10 years later and assume, oh, maybe they had it easier. Maybe they're somehow different to me. Maybe they're more polished, more articulate, better at public speaking, can write better. All those limiting beliefs that we like to tell ourselves about someone that maybe is just a bit further on than us. And it's a myth in many ways, because if you actually pause and reflect and think, every single coach that's now successful, at one point, were not. At one point, they weren't even a coach. We forget that. At one point, they weren't even very good at the coaching thing. And we forget that. We just see the end result and assume, oh, they must have had it easy. At one point, their coaching practice looked exactly like yours. Whether that's no clients and you're just starting to build up into it, or whether that was one client. Think about it like this. The greatest coaches in the world at one point had never coached anyone. The greatest coaches in the world at one point had to coach their first client, most likely for free. We all go through the same process, yet we can fall into the trap of this iceberg effect and assume that somehow they're different. Somehow they're more perfect, more spectacular, more amazing than you. And that couldn't be further from the truth. They're exactly like you. And I'm going to make an argument here which I think has a great truth to it. Real people want to work with real people. It's the power of being normal. In fact, I would argue, as the accolades start to build, and I'll refer to my own story on this, it becomes harder and harder to identify with the average person, as it were, the people that are probably your ideal client in many ways, because you almost become sort of otherworldly. Think about it like this. Let's just say you walked into an auditorium and you was unsure about why you were there or what you wanted to listen to. And on came the stage, a great speaker full of accolades, podcasts, TV, told great stories, and you really enjoyed listening to them. And at the end of it, you didn't really feel compelled to rush the stage and, grab some time with them. But you did notice a couple of people rush the stage and you thought that was quite interesting. And then the next speaker comes on with no accolades, just a normal person, a little bit like you. And they start to speak and they tell a story. And I teach all our coaches to do this. They tell a story that starts to resonate with you. Maybe they're telling a story about being a busy executive that was burnt out. And suddenly you're sitting in that audience, only this time now you're thinking, well, that sounds like me. I'm a busy executive and I feel like I'm going to burn out at any moment. I'm completely overwhelmed. I'm completely exhausted. And the person on the stage is almost telling your story. The level of connection is completely different to just the speaker before that told all these fabulous stories with wonderful accolades. Now this very normal person is on the stage telling a story that you are hooked into because you can hear your story in their story. And as it unfolds, they talk about pivoting and the solutions they found to change that scenario. Maybe it was to retrain, maybe it was to read a book, maybe it was to run their brain better. And as the story unfolds, you realise there's successes in there that you want. And the successes were that now they transformed their career, transformed their body, transformed their mind, bounced back from burnout in a way that's filled them with joy, meaning and purpose, all the things that you want, that you crave. And now you are in. This very normal speaker standing on a stage is telling a story that you are completely hooked into. And you now want to know, how did they achieve those successes and how can you achieve those successes? And in your opinion, right now, having listened to this talk, this person's probably the best person on the planet to help you deal with your struggles and achieve your successes. And this time when they finish, you feel compelled to rush to the stage, to connect with this person. And maybe you agree with them to become your coach. And I know this story because that was my story. That's how I felt when I first heard someone speak who was a normal person who happened to be a coach, and they told my story and they had successes that I want. I wanted to go to the front of that stage, and I did. And that's how I found my first coach. Normal people want to work with normal people. It's the power of being real and authentic. It actually gets harder, right? And my story's unfolded over the last 12 years, and I've got podcasts and documentaries coming out and books and all these fabulous things, which are wonderful, but it just somehow, you can feel yourself almost then having to fight to be normal. So it's the opposite problem. Having to fight to remind people of where you began rather than where you are. And this is that common trap that we fall into. We just see the tip of the iceberg and assume that maybe these coaches are otherworldly, when actually the truth is they're just like you. And that becomes a limiting belief that stops you from starting, because you say to yourself things like, well, I can't do this. I can't become a successful coach because I don't have podcasts, I don't have books, I don't have all of these things. You don't need any of those things. In fact, I would argue the thing that makes you most real is you don't have those things. And if you do, wonderful. People want to work with real people. All you need to do, and again, I train our coaches to do this, is tell stories. People want to work with real people. They want to connect and learn from someone that has maybe walked their path before, that has overcome similar struggles to them and is now achieving real success. And just to caveat around that, one of the secrets to coaching success is to be niched. And I go on about this so much, is to be much more focused and narrow rather than being a generalist life coach, executive coach. I think that's asking for problems. You want to be a specialist coach, because then you can tell stories that are linked to that specialism, i.e. the path that you've walked before, that maybe you've overcome something, that big transition in your life from a retirement to a redundancy to a menopause to a relationship with alcohol, relationship that's broken up. Wherever it is that you feel most compelled to coach, you can tell those stories, which hooks people in. Then all you've got to do is share your experience, and your experience becomes your expertise. And this is what people are drawn towards. They don't care about accolades and podcasts and all those things. What they care about is, can you help them? This is the world that we live in. And I always joke about this. We have to remember that the average person, which includes you, by the way, and me, they're always on the hunt for something that might be beneficial to them. Okay? They're always on the hunt for something that might be beneficial to them. And we have to remind ourselves that's such a great truth. And it's like this. If you've ever taken a photo, a group photo, right? And you get the phone back, right? And it was on your phone and you've taken this group photo and there's 20 people in the group photo and you get the phone back. What's the first thing that you do, right? If you're anything like me, and I think the rest of the planet, you tend to sort of zoom in, even if it's just gently on yourself. You just want to just check, make sure I'm not pulling some really strange face. If you're not and it looks okay, you're like, yeah, it's not a bad photo. You ignore the fact that the other 19 people are all pulling these strange faces because all you really care about is, do you look okay? And I sort of joke, but I think it's similar to that in the real world, right? We've got these radars going on all the time. There's so much information. It's like, is there something in this for me? So people have got that radar up all the time. So if they hear a real person like them talking about their struggles, they're much more likely to be hooked in. That is all you need to become, in my opinion, a world-class coach. So when it comes back to that question, what have you got to offer? You've got to offer your unique experience. There's only one version of you. And when I talk about experience, I'm not talking about your coaching experience and your accreditations. I've said this many times before. Accreditations are great. All our courses are all accredited at the highest level, but that's not actually what makes you successful as a coach. It's the business and marketing that makes you successful as a coach. And one of the best things you can do to become successful as a coach is just tell your story. Don't worry about accolades and think, oh, if I get another accreditation or I get to this level, then clients will magically appear. No, they won't. Clients do not care about your accreditations. They don't care. What's in it for them? Accreditation gives them nothing. What they want to know from you is, can you help them with this problem that they're struggling with? And are you the right person to do so? Have you walked that path before? Have you been in their shoes? Have you now come out the other side with successes they want? If you can offer those things, people will want to work with you. Forget accreditations. People will want to work with you. And you've got that in your locker already. I guarantee it, if you're listening to this, you've already overcome a struggle. That's probably why you was drawn to coaching in the first place. And you've had some success with that. Not perfect, but some success with that. And in doing so, that's all you need. That is all you ever need. So back to the question once more. What is it you've got to offer as a coach? Everything you ever need. And it's right under your nose. And it's in your story. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video from the Coach Business School. Don't forget, if at any point you'd like to come and train with me, because I deliver all the training, go to coachbusiness.school. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, share far and wide, and check out the notes below for free resources and all the links you need to be successful as a coach. Let's do this.